In this episode of Wired for Meaning, I have a very special guest, Dr. L. Michael Hall. Michael is one of the most influential thinkers in modern psychology and human development. He's the co-founder of Neuro-Semantics and the Meta Coach system, which is now rated the #1 coach training system in the world today. He's also a prolific writer and has authored over 90 books, I believe. I couldn't count them all, but it's around 90 to 100 books. Beyond his accomplishments, Michael is one of the most kind, caring, genuine, and excellent human beings I've ever had the privilege to learn from and get to know. I believe Neuro-Semantics has the power to make such a significant impact on the world by giving people a workable map of how to use their mind and operate their mind in an effective way so they can live with joy, purpose, fulfillment, and actualize their potential. Very excited to share today's conversation where we focus in on his newest training called the 5-Minute Manager. I hope you enjoy. So Michael, thank you for joining me today. Today we're going to be diving into your latest training, the 5-Minute Manager. Before we dive into the 5-Minute Manager, Michael, could you share in your words what Neuro-Semantics is and why it's such a pivotal framework for unlocking human potential and leadership today?
Okay. Well, the words neurosemantics refers to our neurology, which is going to include all of the nervous systems, the 16 nervous systems that we have, and the brain, and how we process information. Semantics is the meanings that we create. So as we construct meaning about something, about anything, that meaning now informs, guides, directs our response, our bodily, physical response in the way we talk, the way we act, the way we feel. And so anything and everything has those two components, meaning and performance, meaning and the body's way of responding. So if I'm learning a new skill, then what does it mean to me? What do I understand about it? How do I think it works? What misunderstandings do I have? And how does that now affect the way I perform? The quality of my performance is going to be the quality of the meanings that my body has learned. And neurosemantics is a systemic approach to human psychology, so that instead of just focusing on what we think and making it in contrast to what we feel or do, we see it as a system interacting, and that we can enter that system by thinking, by feeling, by acting. And it's just a much more holistic approach.
Yeah, it's been revolutionary for me personally. You've transformed my life in more ways than one. So I'm curious about how this now leads into the conversation of today, which is your new training, the 5-Minute Manager. And I'm wondering, what is the essence of the 5-Minute Manager, Michael, and what problems were you trying to solve when you created this?
So I'll start with the problem. The problem we're trying to solve is that managers they live in the world of problems. They got lots and lots of problems to solve. And because you're managing other people and trying to do work through and with other people, almost all the problems are people problems. For the most part, they're not technical problems. If it's technical, that's just a matter for the research and development department to figure out the chemistry or the engineering or the mechanics of something. And those problems are the problems that most managers, if they have expertise in that area, they rub their hands together and say, oh boy, let me at it. Because it's a problem they can solve that's outside of themselves and that has nothing to do with really how they feel or think. Their personal work will be falling apart, but they're good at chemistry. They know how, to build an engine. So the problems that we're addressing are the problems that the manager is managing, whether it's a small team of 8 people or several teams and multiple teams that may include 1,000 people. It's the people problems that come up. And it's going to be political problems. Well, she won't listen to me when I say this, and he won't do this, and I can't get the funding. And besides, I'm not engaged, and this is boring. And it's all those people problems that give the managers a headache. So the question is, how can they deal with this without becoming a coach, without becoming a therapist, without becoming a counselor? How can they more quickly get to the heart of the problem and help the person solve their own problems? Because most of these problems that are going to be brought to them, the manager can't solve them anyway. So if the person is disengaged, if the person can't manage work-life balance, if the person can't handle his anger at home or on the road, these are not problems that the manager can do much about unless they step into the role of a coach. Now, the 5-minute manager, the 5-minute conversation is going to be a coaching conversation, but not the way a professional coach would work. Okay. Because we don't want to turn them into coaches. They want to be managers. They want to manage their department. So the question then is, how can they quickly, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, get to the heart of the issue, figure out, is this something that we can solve quickly, or do I refer this to a professional coach?
Yeah. Okay, so this seems like one of the bigger roadblocks for managers, that they know how to manage their department, but it's managing the people is the problem. And that's what the 5-minute manager resolves.
Exactly.
So why does this approach matter so much?
Well, it is the headache of most managers, and many managers who are excellent at doing different things are promoted to this new level, and they're incompetent about how to handle the people. So they need some training. And this is occurring all over planet Earth, every country. Organizations are sending managers to get some coach training. And this is happening all over. We've been doing it for the last 20 years in medical coaching. We get managers coming in all the time. We put them through a process that is designed to create a professional coach. But of course, most of them, I would say 90% of them, do not want to become a professional coach. They don't have time for a 60-minute conversation.
Yeah.
They just don't. So the question is, what do they actually need to help to solve the problems? So based upon what Ken Blanchard did in 1981, the 1-minute manager, the 1-minute manager was a way that they showed how a manager could walk around, see someone doing something well, catching them doing something good, and do a 1-minute praise. Yeah. They could catch them doing something not so well and do a 1-minute reprimand or correction. And they could do a 1-minute feedback. But the one thing that Ken Blanchard never even brought up in the book was the 1-minute problem solving. You can't solve a problem in 1 minute. So he didn't even try. But could you solve it in 5 minutes? So that was the question we started asking ourselves. Is it possible to quickly get to the heart of the matter and resolve it, or facilitate a person so that they could resolve it? And so that's what the 5-minute conversation is about. It has 6 steps. And so the training is going to be walking through those 6 steps in 4 days, 4 days of training, helping a person to be able to listen and hear at such a level that you can hear the source of the problem, which is going to be meaning.
So I think that one will go over a lot of people's heads. Can you dive into that a little bit more? Because before I entered the coaching world, I thought, well, listen, I listen. Listening's listening. I heard their words, but you just said listening like deeply. Can you go into that? What does that actually mean in reality?
Okay. So here's one of the opening distinctions we're going to make, and that's the separation between um, the conditions on the outside and the
Mhm.
problems on the inside,
Mm.
and the realization that every problem is right here, that problems do not exist outside. Conditions exist, but not problems. For there to be a problem, a person has to have a goal that is being blocked.
Okay.
So if that's a if that is the structure of a problem, the problem is prolimo, something is thrown in front of and before my goal, then to have a problem, you got to have a goal. So the first question is, what's your goal? What do you want that you're not getting? What do you want that's being interfered with? Okay, so what's interfering with it? How is it being interfered? Now we can distinguish um, solvable problems and unsolvable.
Mm.
So my goal is to flap my arms and fly. Okay, well, that's unsolvable because, um, yes, there's a gap between flying and flapping your arms, but that gap we can't cross.
Mhm. Mhm.
So we set aside a lot of problems. And while that's a silly example, a lot of problems are like that. I want so and so to do this and that. Well, is that in your control? If it's not in your control, it's a silly problem.
Mm.
It's just a condition. That's the
Mhm.
way they talk. They just talk that way and they have that sarcastic attitude and tone, and that's their problem. How is it a problem for you?
Mm.
So, so as we start analyzing the problem, and that's the first step, what is the problem? Um, and as we hear that, then we can identify what in the person's mind, how had they constructed and created a problem for themselves?
Mm. Okay. So you mentioned in a recent email about this training, you mentioned that I believe you're writing a book on this and that you've highlighted, I think it was 10 problems that managers face. Um, could you highlight some of them for us today?
Well, so the problems, what we're doing there is to take 10 of the most common problems and analyze it with these 6 steps.
Mm.
So the 6 steps starts with state. What state are you in? Because oftentimes, well, let me back up a little bit. Um, a well-formed problem is half solved. So just clearly identifying what the problem is solves half of the problems, maybe more. Maybe 80% of all problems are solved just by having the conversation and getting clear about what the problem is. And we set them aside. It's not really a problem.
Mm.
So, so we start with a state, and a person is in a state, and if you're in the wrong state, you can create all kinds of problems,
Mhm.
and 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 they may not be any problems at all. It's a state.
Uh,
So we know that when we're angry, when we're upset, when we're frustrated, when we're stressed out, we do not do our best thinking. And if you don't do your best thinking, then you can think all kinds of problems into existence.
mm.
Fears about the future, worries about what is going to happen or what might happen. So we start with the state. What state are you in? What are you feeling? Are you in the right state to solve a problem?
Mhm.
Okay, you're in the right state. Just tell me what the problem is. And so then we listen to the language to see if they can construct a problem without judging. So that's our second one. Once they can create that problem statement, we turn it into a question. So, okay, there's your statement. This is the problem. Let's turn it into a question. What is the question you want to have answered?
Okay.
And once we have that question, now we can infer the meaning. So, what has to be true at a higher level for you to ask that question, for you to make that statement, for you to feel that problem?
Mm.
So that's the structure of what we're going after to get to the meaning.
Ah. Okay. And so the manager is facilitating that conversation, getting to the meaning, and then what do you teach the managers to do then with the meaning?
So the key will be that question. So this is the coaching part of the 5-minute conversation. Instead of giving advice and telling someone, here's the solution, let's say someone says, um, John gets promoted, I don't get promoted. I never get any attention here. They're always against me. Well, if a manager can hear the universal statements, they always do it to him, they never do it to me, all or nothing thinking,
Mhm.
then the manager can very quickly go to, you're thinking all or nothing.
Mm.
And now ask a question. Is there no exception? And once they ask, well, there's some exception. So didn't they do this last year for you? Well, yeah, they did that. So it's not always.
Mm.
And now the problem starts crumbling. It just starts falling apart. So what's the real problem? Well, I wanted that job more than John wanted. I think I was more qualified. But tell me your qualifications. Did you apply? And so now the conversation becomes a more useful conversation.
Yep.
And manager has done that by asking questions
Mm.
instead of instruction or advice giving. This will be probably one of the biggest shifts for a manager. Stop telling and ask.
Yeah, yeah. So what would you say to managers who think currently believe that that is their job to tell people what to do?
Yeah. So we've got a pattern that we're going to do on day one, taking off the manager's hat,
Okay.
putting on the coach's hat
Okay.
or the facilitator's hat. So as the manager, you tell, you order, you organize, you structure, you are in the know. You're the expert. Take it off. Put on the coach's hat. You're the colleague.
Mm.
And now your job is to understand first, to understand this person on this person's terms. So you ask lots of questions and try to find out where they are, and you're doing it not from the authority position, but from a colleague, collegial position.
Okay. And so what's an example of a time when, like, how do you know when to take the manager hat off and put on the coaching hat?
Uh, the kind of problem.
Okay.
So if it's a technical problem, keep the manager's hat on because you know what to do to run that machine or run that assembly line or whatever is going on.
Yeah.
And and if it's not a technical problem, if it's a people person problem,
Mhm.
then put on the coach's hat.
Okay. Okay. So what would you say, or yeah, what would you say the longer term benefits of learning how to do this coaching approach, getting people to come to their own answers instead of just telling all the time? What are the longer term benefits that come from that?
So one of the biggest complaints against managers, and at all levels, whether it's junior or senior managers, is that my manager doesn't understand me.
Mm.
My manager doesn't listen to me. My manager just tells me things, and I'm afraid to speak up. I'm afraid to ask questions. I'm afraid to give bad news.
Mm.
And in terms of the organization, this is a real roadblock in terms of the efficiency and effectiveness of any organization. When when people can't talk to people, and when bad news can't travel upwards, and when people feel like I'm just a cog in a machine, and no one really cares for me here. So if we want long-term engagement of people and people loyal and committed and responsible, then for a manager, take off the manager hat, put on the facilitator hat, and for just 5 minutes. So we're not asking them to change their career. We're asking them just to add some more skills to the repertoire of skills. And to be able to do this, create that relationship, and you'll have a loyal person for a lifetime.
Mm. Yeah. Okay. So it's more than just a greater result in the workplace. It's about retention, connection, and even greater connection itself. With that alone comes greater well-being for everyone involved. Um,
Exactly.
yeah. So when you've modeled excellent managers, the best of the best, is this one of the parts you see in those people?
Right. That the manager has the can do this dual role, this role of managing a system and making sure it's effective and efficient, as well as stepping out of that and being a real person to other people. And then people want to follow that person because that person is winning their hearts and minds. And so, the best of the best can do both of those roles. Some people are natural at it, and some people have to just go through training to get good at it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. And so how does this tie into self-actualization, self-actualizing leadership? And if you could, just for those who don't know what is self-actualizing leadership, and what is a self-actualizing company?
So Abraham Maslow was the one who really visualized and formulated these ideas of a self-actualizing leader and a self-actualizing company. Self-actualizing means that you're fully functioning mentally, emotionally, linguistically, verbally, behaviorally, relationally. You're fully functioning. So you're actualizing your best self and the fullest expression of you. So that's what it means. And in terms of leadership, since leaders are winning the hearts and minds of people, not only their behaviors, winning their behaviors is really a question of the system that is set up. If the system is set up so that people know their job, know how to do it, are well trained, then the behaviors will follow and they'll comply. To win their hearts, to win their minds, that's the challenge of leadership.
Mm. Yeah.
And so a self-actualizing leader can win the minds, get people to see, oh, this is the vision, this is the mission, and I'm on board, and to care about it. I care about doing this because it brings out my best. I'm part of a winning team, and so it brings out their best. And then the company becomes a self-actualizing company in that it's going to be fully functioning.
Mm. So s- some of the answer to what I'm about to ask is implied in what you just shared. But if how does someone know if they what are some examples of a leader that is not a self-actualizing leader?
Well, there's going to be all kinds of limitations. So the question now becomes, what can you not do? What is it hard for you to do? What may be, it feels like it's prohibited from you doing? Well, I can't talk to my the people who report to me about their emotions. I just can't do that. So now there's that limitation, and the emotional intelligence in that organization is going to suffer.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. Interesting. Okay, and so the 5 minute manager sounds like it's absolutely an important part of uh, a, a self-actualizing company. Or-
Yeah, maybe to go back to the difference between a professional coach and a manager
Okay.
and a 5 minute manager. The 5 minute manager is entirely problem focused.
Mhm.
A professional coach isn't problem focused as much as it is goal focused. What do you want? Would be the first coaching question. And do you know how to get there? And what resources do you need to get there? And what could stop you? So, coaching is about helping people set objectives and outcomes that are compelling and exciting, and it helps them to develop themselves. Um, Inside of coaching, there's one little piece. So, what stops you? And that's a problem-solving question. What stops you?
Mm.
So the 5-minute manager isn't coaching people about their outcomes, because the manager sets the outcome. The manager sets the agenda. The manager sets the values of the company. So none of that is in question. If the person has been hired into the company, then the objective, their job description, their job goal, all of that is set. But what stops you from being the person you can be in this job? Is there something inside? Is there relational issues going on? So the 5-minute manager starts with that problem question. So what's the problem? And by going in and finding that problem, finding resources, helping the person do some critical thinking so they can figure it out for themselves, then they become more self-reliant, more self-confident, more self-efficacious in themselves, and they'll be a better employee. And that's the design of the 5-minute manager and how it's different from a coach.
Ah, okay. What question have I not asked you?
One question that you haven't asked is, will these 4 days of this training, will it enable a manager to become skillful in that, in the 5-minute conversation?
Yeah.
And the answer is no, it will not.
Okay.
But it'll give the managers an insight into what's possible for them. The 10 problems that we're putting in the training and putting in the book will give them, like the first one is life-work balance.
Yeah.
So then we look at the state. Well, the state of the person presenting that problem is going to be stressed out because they're stressed. They don't have enough time to do their work at work, to have time with their family, to do what they want to do. So how do they describe that? And then what is the description of the problem? What is the question that they're wanting to answer? They may phrase it like, I just need more time. Well, that is a question that we cannot create more 24 hours in the day. So it's an illegitimate question. So now we need to ask a more appropriate question. If you could manage your time more effectively, what would you say no to so that you can say yes to the things that's really important? So we're getting to the critical question. And we're getting to the meaning. The meaning is they have framed time as a thing that they need to manage. And that's the pseudo problem. We all have the same amount of time. We don't manage time. We manage ourselves in time. So people who are trying to manage time, they're managing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
They need to manage themselves in how many things they put on the table. If you want to get stressed out and have terrible work-life balance, put more things on the table than you can possibly get to. And it'll send up the blood pressure. It'll make you crazy.
I'm good at that one myself.
So we've taken these 10 and analyzed them, and we'll go through that in the training, so that of these 10, the manager will be able to know how to get to the meaning real quickly, because we've already provided the whole analysis. We'll go through it and we'll practice it. And then as other problems come up, they've got a template, a format for how to get to this heart of the problem quickly. It's going to take more training. They're not going to do it in 4 days, but they'll see the template. They'll see that it is possible to do it. And if they want to continue this, then we've got follow-up trainings that can help them to develop these skills.
To deepen that ability to improve. So for someone who, let's say, is a new manager, let's just use that example. How long, let's say they've gone through the 5-minute manager training, the 4 days. there be implementation they have to do. How long would it take someone to really get competent at this skill, this 5 minute problem solving?
Well, you probably won't like this answer, but the answer is it really depends on the person.
Yeah.
Some people will pick it up so quickly and they'll just be a natural at it.
Yeah.
So if they're a natural at hearing language or linguistics and and picking up thinking patterns, well, that's all or nothing thinking. That's exaggeration thinking. That's personalizing thinking. That's if they're if they're natural at that, it'll come pretty quickly.
Mm.
If they're not, and this is where a technical manager is going to be it's going to take longer for a technical manager because they're great at mechanics, they're great at chemistry, they're great at all these other things, and this is more psychological.
Mm.
So the psychological training, it'll take them a little bit longer to do it. We've got 6 follow-up days, 2 days on language, 2 days on thinking patterns, and 2 days on interpersonal relations that will follow up um, with this particular program.
Okay. Okay. You presented this once, correct? And you're in the process of.
Well, we tried something else. We tried something different. We tried the long approach, the 8-day intensive, uh, associate certified meta coach, and we found out in Mauritius, where we ran this a couple months ago, we found out that uh, the managers were waiting for how do I deal with problems? Because for 6 days we were dealing with the outcome and the relationship and the professional coaching skills, and we hadn't been dealing with the problem. So on day 6, I introduced this, and all of a sudden, their eyes open up. This is what we're waiting for, how to deal with the problems.
Okay.
And I realized we don't need all that other stuff.
Wow.
So in December in Hong Kong, we're going to run it for the first time. We'll run it maybe 5, 6 times next year. The 4-day, 5-minute manager training. So we'll find out just how well it runs and to what degree we can be effective with it.
Amazing. Amazing. So where do you see this, do you see yourself adding more to it as the more you run it, like making updates, or do you think it's pretty well set?
Um, the challenge is how to present a lot of materials in 4 days.
Yeah.
So that's the challenge. And every day, if we had to add another day, it just complicates it. So we're going to try to keep it to the 6 steps of the 4 days.
Yeah.
Keep it as simple as possible, because our theme is how to get to the heart of things quickly.
Hmm.
And the heart of things is meaning, and there's all kinds of windows into a person's meanings, their words, their thinking patterns, their emotions, the words they talk about, their identity, their self. So we've got lots of windows in,
Hmm.
and that's what we'll be training people to detect. That if they can pick up on these windows into the person's mind, they can get into the mind fairly quickly and then solve the problem by changing the thinking.
Mm. Okay. Okay. And so you're writing a book that goes along with this right now. And when do you expect that to be finished, Michael?
Well, we've got the third draft of it written now.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep it short too. It's just about 100 pages. So and plenty of examples, plenty of conversations, 5-minute conversations in the chapters, so that people can see um, written down how it goes. So we're going to keep it pretty simple and make it available to anybody who attends the trainings.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay. Okay. Exciting. Well, Anything else you want to share about this training, Michael?
Well, um, business and working on organizations is probably what 70% of the human population does on a daily basis. We go to work. So 8 hours of our day, if we're awake for 16 hours a day and sleep for 8, then
Mm.
half of our life is spent in organizations and businesses. And all the statistics, all of the polls that are taken, people dread going to work. Um, Great many people are disengaged from work. They're not enjoying their work. So they're not enjoying half their life, half their conscious life. So going into organizations and helping managers be the kind of leaders that they can be, so that they enjoy problem solving, because that's what they're good at, and solving people problems, which they're not so good at, and then helping the organization to thrive because people enjoy being there. It's a great place to work, and they have friends there. And so I see it as really a way that we in neurosemantics can add something that really changes the world and the way we do uh, our life on this planet. So I think it has a great opportunity to really change the lives of of people all over the planet.
Yeah, yeah. So Michael, beyond management, so let's say there's people who are listening to this that aren't managers. Who, what are some examples of other people that could really benefit from this?
Well, that's the other key. I started writing about a description of a manager and realized we're all managers.
Yeah, yeah,
All man. I manage my time, I manage my health, I manage my energy, I manage my relationships. We're all managers.
yeah,
And self-management is and if you don't have self-leadership, you can't do self-management.
yeah.
So what we call leaders and managers as if they're separate from the rest of us.
Mm.
He's a manager. We're all managers.
We're all managers, we're all leaders. That's it. Yeah. Okay, so everyone, that's your answer. Everyone can benefit. So this training isn't just about managing others, managing problems. It's also placed an effect on managing ourselves as well.
Yeah. Well, and everybody manages others, friends, relatives, um, getting along with family members, getting along with people that are hard to get along with. Uh, so we call it relationships, but we're managing the relationship.
Failure management. Yeah. 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 It's so really everyone from an athlete, from a family member, like everyone really is a manager. It's never really fully grasped that until now.
Yeah. So some get paid for it, and the rest of us don't get paid for
Yeah.
it. But we still have the same job.
So if you're a manager, you get a double whammy with this training because you can manage it better at work and at home. Is there anything, any practical tips you could give away now, or practical lessons that you could teach maybe, or anyone listening, because we're all managers, anyone listening to this interview right now?
Well, the challenge of managing anything, if I'm managing my weight,
Mhm.
how many thousands and thousands of people struggle with all kinds of diets and medicines and things trying to manage their weight. Um, and so, first of all, we'll just go to the state. What state are you in? Well, I'm ashamed of my weight. I'm ashamed of what I look like. I want it to be different, but I feel like I'm out of control because here comes this. Um, Here comes the chips. Here comes the French fries. Here comes all the all the junk food, and I can't help myself. Well, we got a management problem. And so, what is the problem? Um, the good stuff tastes bad, and the bad stuff tastes good. No, so if they make that the problem, so how you define the problem is going to be the key. So, what is the real problem? Well, the problem may be I have not set a goal that is compelling to myself to have to lose the weight, to have the energy, the well-being, the long-term healthfulness in my body that I want. So once that becomes important to a person, because if it's not important to a person, then no matter how many drugs they're taking or how many times they get surgery to take out fat from the belly, it's not going to work. So once we set the goal, so what stops you from reaching the goal? And so now we go to the thinking, and a lot of it is the old ways that I've been thinking. That's the problem. And so now looking at it from the standpoint of it's really not rocket science. How many calories are you putting in? How much are you expending? And the expending part is the exercise part.
Mm-hmm.
And how many people hate exercise, despise exercise, find it boring, well, that's what's got to change. And so the problem only exists in the mind. It's just these conditions that I have to deal with. And so once a person learns to think through what a real problem is, because there's so many of these pseudo problems. Mm-hmm. And one of the big things that we mistake the symptoms for the problem.
Yeah.
And the symptom is I'm overweight. Well, that's not the problem. Yeah. That's just a symptom of the problem, which is the way I'm thinking about food or exercise.
Yeah. And a presupposition of neurosemantics is the person is not the problem, the thinking is the problem. And so this is all about learning how to manage the thinking, which is the real problem. And that's how we get the result inside.
Yeah. Yeah. And since you've brought that up, that is one of the key things I think that people can have as a takeaway. You're not the problem. If I thought the same way you're thinking, I'd have the same problem. So you're not the problem. The thinking is the problem. And once we change that, we become really effective problem solvers.
Yeah. So what do you say to someone, but I'm not thinking about anything? What do you say to someone who says, I'm not thinking about anything, I just feel this way?
Yeah. Well, that's going to take us a little bit deeper, because thinking is always seeking to become unconscious. It's one of the principles in neurosemantics. Conscious thinking is always seeking to become a kinesthetic feeling. So if you learn to type, now you may not know where the keys are anymore, but the fingers know. Mm-hmm. So what's conscious is always seeking to become unconscious. So when someone says, I'm not thinking, what they mean is they're not consciously thinking, they're unconsciously thinking. Mm-hmm. And the unconscious thinking, which is a kinesthetic or a body sensation, that's doing the thinking automatically, unconsciously for them. And now the only way they can take control is to bring it back to consciousness.
Mm. And so what are some ways, to bring it back into consciousness, would you say?
Well, asking questions is probably the key skill, and that's what we teach in neurosemantics, how to ask those kinds of questions that forces a person to go in and get that knowledge, get that information, and helping them to become conscious again. That's the amazing thing about, if you know how to ask the right question at the right time, you can get that information. That's what we're going to do with a 5-minute manager around the subject of a well-formed problem.
Mm. All right. Well, Michael, I'm really excited about this training. Um, it's going to be presented, I believe, in Fort Lauderdale in May, right? Or did we say June?
I think it's
August, right?
I think it's August.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Um, so that's at this stage, that's the first time it'll be presented in the US.
Yeah.
And is that available to the public or just the trainers?
Um, at this point, I don't know. We're saying that it's for the trainers so that they can go train it.
Okay.
Um, um, but I'm hoping that we can have we can present it in the United States sometime this coming year.
Yeah.
A month.
Excellent. All right. Well, Michael, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time, and it's really, really great to have this conversation. And I look forward to seeing you at the 5 Minute Manager training.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you. It's been helpful for me.
Okay, great. Good to hear. Thank you.